I'll actually begin with the poem that Deanna mentioned that I did a short film for. It's called Eyewitness Testimony. A lot of the poems in this book are more or less failed attempts at trying to adhere to really rigid, arbitrary formal constraints. In this poem, I got it in my head that I wanted to write a poem without metaphors. I failed. Eyewitness Testimony. The man who was killed died. The gun had gone ballistic in the parking lot. Up till then, all he'd done was have nothing to lose. His hair was growing right out of his face. Earlier, from the precipitate sky, hail the size of golf balls pelted the clubhouse. Errant, hail-sized golf balls shanked the clubhouse before the golfers ran for cover from the weather. This occurred on the fringe of suburbs and their evident neighboring. The cars remained parked in the lot where he fell, immobile, necessary machinery. The woman at the scene sporting leopard print spandex was way too realistic. She lacked conspicuous panty lines. Her description, though relevant, was weapon-focused. The report from the shots fired was heard variably as a calendar sliding off a kitchened wall and the after vacuum of implosion, with decibel fluctuation, distance, and Doppler effect. Reports varied. Between the houses backing on to the 10th green, aphids gathered all sounds within the 250 to 45,000 cycle range of their tympana and slept uninterviewed in the shade of hydrangea. The passing cab driver had the largest hippocampus among the onlookers, being the least lost. This was scientifically proven, though need not be mentioned in the final. Others were directionless. What they saw, they now knew, had never not happened, wondering how they had arrived here, how here arrives. Post-storm light struck the police cruiser windshield, behaving as particles or waves, depending, even as testimonials hardened into notebook fact. Plausible rival hypotheses will arise in court. The incident began more suddenly than the victim expected and will last much longer. I'll dedicate this next poem to anyone who has been out far too late and find themselves under the influence of several controlled substances and just wants to go home. It's called Odd. God, I'm sorry, I forgot. Thank you, Sandy and Christian. It's great company to read in. Christian, I kind of just want you to follow me around and speak in that voice. It's like so motivational. I'd get more done in the day. So this is Odd for Christian. Then unbuoyant dread at the all-night hot dog stand. On the woozy cab ride home, the street turns trampoline. Olympic updates play on ethnic radio. Cars lurch to the stops, like relics waiting for an archivist with foresight. Sewer smells primary, combine, then cancel out. Faces of the passers-by broadly range the zone of cranky and dissatisfied. What happens badly comes in threes, but never does triangulate, while they waver, gather patternless at crosswalks, not as sums of chance, but slim chances held against. Probably, we're told, it's not success or doing our job well that counts, but to recuperate from unexpected failures. The business district scrapers look like saints about to levitate. Every ad's in love with us. Condo cranes are angels poised again to strike. I'm going to roam around the book a little bit. I do work in the film industry. I don't draw a lot on my personal experience in the film industry, but I do love film, so I draw a lot on my TV and movie watching. This next poem, it's called Corpsing This Century, and corpsing is actually it's not really a lexical filmic term, but for those of you who watch outtakes or special features at the end of your DVDs, the funniest bits when the actors crack up and they can't keep a straight face, they can't keep their deadpan, that's called corpsing. And apparently it's terrifying for actors. The laughter that we see that makes us laugh, it's almost compelling us to laugh in those outtakes. For them is this manic morbidity. They can't stop, and so it's kind of a horrible, trapped, claustrophobic feeling to be in that situation. So this is called Corpsing This Century. I know what you are about to say, and you know what I'm about to say. This turns our conversation into a gas. Despite preemptive vocal exercises, I still avoid your eyes. Stare at the space due left of your head and pretend I've just come to. Try to forget what you've said and will repeat. But anticipation throws my better composed self into a shit-eating grin. When you use words like that, I can't help it. The fascination's morbid with me. History, politics, eject like plastic furniture from their seamless molds, accumulate unpatented, synonymous with landfill. Our miscues are grave, and the retake's no picnic, because we're never not aware of our surroundings. If you and I were in a Herzog, these would be the lines we couldn't get past, landing on the gag reel as a gaffe, though they're the lines we'd continue to recite until we nailed the scene. But we're not in a film. So these replays keep playing on a loop. Similarly, art resulting from the exhaustion of easy living provokes a stifled laugh. I should say absurdity sets in earlier and earlier. Whose was that exhibit? The sculptural gack suspended in the dark only after the opening ended. The patrons left. There's a memory, too, that makes me crack. A friend falling in slow motion from another friend's horse. I've reduced it, for deft recall during crises, to his look of surprise and the expression of air leaving him on impact. The serious is so ripe, a cathedral for hysterics, really. When I convinced myself the man slumped against me and emerged last night was only sleeping, scanned the room for loved ones to come nudge him awake, nothing seemed remotely funny, even allowing the silence and proximity. What happened next, as you've guessed, was approximately the same as what didn't. Composure's about timing. You mustn't equate deadpan with a winning performance. I'll jump back to a poem that will take us all to Florida. It's called FLA. I've been to Florida, I think, 3 times in my life. The last time was to visit with my family for Christmas. So we traveled down there to a place called Naples, which is this place that is like, it's a place of eminent beauty. It's like beautiful people, beautiful landscape, beautiful coastal line, beautiful city. Lots of beautiful Canadians are down there. That's where they go, snowbird-wise. But I guess alongside of that eminent beauty is this feeling of imminent danger, and the levels that the lengths that people go to protect themselves from it while they're down there. So this is called FLA. Where want has ended, communities are gated. The sprawl broken by box store malls, all of it floating 7 feet above sea level. Spotless streets corsaged with palms, The mostly vacant homes house screened-in pools off the back instead of yards. Calm. Not safe, but having purchased a sense of security. We imagine nothing but what surrounds us here. Ensconced, we steam in the hot tub like sausages in our natural casings. A bald eagle steals an osprey's prey mid-flight. Snowy egrets dodge past barefoot waders toward the seltzered surf like waiters without arms or trays. The sun snaps 1 second into the next, puzzle piece perfect and clean as our margarita ice. A certain order finds its way. If we see dolphins today, the fit will feel even closer. Jimmy Buffett calms the nerves of the German woman buying swim trunks for her nervous son. Masticating is chewing, expectorating, spitting, and a crime. I don't know why these mannerisms come to mind, while nature extends such courtesies to us in its decline. The outlet is a well-turned-out buffet. Nictitating also feels important to the moment. The vast, air-conditioned aisles quietly filling with it. Among the manatees and alligators tangling in the Everglades, beyond the walls of this enclosure, something terrible is happening, the likes of which we'd rather not see, sounds we'd rather not hear. The ranger reloads his camera, unaccustomed to this dilemma. Nightly self-policed, each encoded house a curfew of sleeping couples, transparent to one another as they can let themselves be, truthful as strangers asking for directions. Loss, regret, distress, all the anonymous murdered selves relax on their nocturnal faces. Tomorrow's forecast, like every other, is what they are going to expect. The humidity is primitive. A florid stink of ripe vegetable and camouflaged layers. Memory is dampened to a whiff, then masked by chlorinated pools, barbecues, bourbon, the new time of children. We remember nothing but what surrounds us. On the white sand beach, stark cherubs and tanned bathers step haltingly into the sea, as if afraid they're returning somewhere happily forgotten. I wish I could describe it to you with the big, wholesome metaphor of music. These healthy, buoyant tourists, how the decorated yuccas and pastel condominiums simply drain away when the ocean's brilliant flag swells in the outcast eye. Nice fill, whoever that was, thank you. I will end with two more, and if I've read too quickly, I'll read a third. But the last two poems in the book, I'll invert them though. This poem is probably the closest that I came to writing a nature poem or a wilderness poem in this book. It's called 0 Kelvin. Make of that what you will. 0 Kelvin. Gentle patriots of the suburbs, whose faith is an acronym for fiber access in the home, where none means no one thing, and news the plural of new. All is flux, nothing abides. Yet you reside. So rise from dinner parties, pause your footy PBRs. It doesn't rain like this in Astrakhan, does it, Andre? Zilch, Kelvin, absolutely nada. And gather in the barren bulbs of muffled cul-de-sacs to scan the subdivided sky, modulated by the bit stream flow and low electric yields. The constellation of your faces forms a dazzling array. Each swivels toward spare signals as they travel on their cold way out. Unimpeded, as your unlit sons and daughters bedding down in parks and foreclosed fields, ruining their pretty hair. This last poem is called Super Slow-Mo. Yet again, not so much from my technical expertise in the filmmaking industry, more so really enjoying watching super slow-mo athletic events, sporting events on TV. I do think, I have to, and you can argue this with me later, but I think the advent of super slow motion cinematography is quite possibly the greatest convergent marriage of a new aesthetic and a new technology in our lifetimes, visually speaking. So super slow-mo. At the speed of, say, a dark interior Benjamin Moore, Rafa executes a serve unfair in its perfection, noble and cruel. The standing O's a given, but the moment's been divided into high-def frames of motion, so the details float above the lawn at Wimbledon. As the second dilates a million years, there's no need to fix my gaze. The eye roams unhurted, articulate in this telescopic scale. It's like spying continental drift or the onset of rust. Radar gunning the velocity of sloths, the phosphorus cycle run to completion. It spans the cradle to the grave for giant clams. Now I fathom the rate manganese nodes wrap themselves in more of themselves 20,000 leagues below. As gradually as boulders coughed up by the sea are worn smooth as saddles and anvils, the Schwarzer Adler in Leonberg thaws into a poignant symphony for one boy, lonely shelling, on his way from Latin school. Earlier, through suspended grains of sand, he watched, distracted from his lesson, water drops. Tick. Tick. Tick from icicles and ricochet off the sill like confetti made of glass. Once, long ago, I climbed a tree, a sycamore, in which I felt content. I remember thinking then, not that time was eternal, just not about time at all. Thank you.